Hello and welcome to post-match reaction to the Blues versus the Chiefs in their final round of the regular Super Rugby season before we head on to the final next weekend between the Crusaders and the Chiefs. And look, coming into this game, the TAB had the Blues as heavy favourites because the Chiefs had made so many changes to their lineup. I jokingly put them down as calling them the baby Chiefs on Twitter and Facebook. Just a bit tongue-in-cheek there, because they had so many debutants and so many young players in the side. Obviously, with the addition also of Liam Messam, who came back to come on and have a game. But looking at the result then in the end, look, the result at 39-19 for a Blues victory. And on paper, well, at that number, you're looking at it and going, well, comfortable win for the Blues, and the bookies got it right. But not so, really. At 61 minutes, we were at 19 all. The Chiefs had fought themselves definitely back into it. And it could have gone either way there. I think what we're looking at, as Stephen Harris said in our group chat on Facebook, that the benches made a big difference there with players like Goodhue, Offa Tu'ungafasi, Sam Nock, Kiri Iwani, all coming off that bench. And talking of Stephen Harris, he has jumped in to say hello. And how are you doing, sir?
Oh, not too bad, I suppose. From a rugby piece, good game of rugby. From a Blues piece, sense of relief, I guess.
Even better game of rugby. No, okay. Because that's what I was saying in our chat that basically, look, that I fully expected the Blues to win this one quite comfortably, and you were having a bit of a go at me, telling me that I shouldn't be writing off the Chiefs so easily. And
Paul,
in that first,
Paul, I was going to say that only comes from over 50 odd years of watching this game, thinking that something that's a sure thing is never a sure thing, and that's the way sport should be. You never. Yeah, the Cards, if you look at those two teams on paper, yeah, definitely you'd think the Blues. But, one thing that you can't take away from the Chiefs, there are a lot of guys out there who still want to prove something. And there's probably some guys probably trying to push to be in that 23-man squad next week. So there were guys still pushing for places. And, man, they were still in the fight for a long time. Put it this way, it's comfortable enough on the scoreboard, but to me it's a flattering scoreline.
Yeah, look, I mean, I say it was 19 all at 61 minutes. So clearly, up until that point, it was not a comfortable win by any stretch of the imagination. Look, Turner Wright saying that the commentators wanting the Chiefs to win. Look, I think when you've got essentially this was down as a dead rubber, right? No, the result of this game doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. The Chiefs going to the final, the Blues aren't. End of story. But when Craig McMillan picked this side, if you were one of those Chiefs players in that 23, apart from your Sokulas and a couple of others there, this is your one chance to prove you belong at this level. And so hence, that's why we saw some of those guys come out and really throw their bodies around early on. And Terry Black, boy, oh boy, he felt that with one of his kicks as the open side, I've gone blank as to the player's name for the Chiefs, really was putting his body around.
That was from Kaufusi. That was one hell of a hit, almost put him into next week. So you got so it was a great game for so from that point of view, this was always going to be a competitive game, right? There was there was no way this was going to be one of those ones where people just turn up and just go through the motions. Now, those players were there, as I say, trying to make a point. They belong at this level. They deserve another contract next year. They deserve a shot or some more game time during Super Rugby Trans-Tasman, if not a shot at making that 23 in the finals. And that's one of the good things about having Trans-Tasman coming up next, is there were some players playing, as I say, for that for those kind of roles early on. Rieko Iwani, a bit of a high tackle on Sean Wainui, and 3 were knocked over. Interesting that all the points that have been kicked by the Chiefs up until tonight had been kicked by Damon McKenzie, and obviously he wasn't playing. So Gatland
getting the first non-kicked ones there. Look, it was the Blues. To me, it was when the Blues forwards went to work, because they had some good ball carrying. They were getting over the gain line, and they eventually got held up. We had that goal line. The goal line dropout got fumbled, and then suddenly we saw the danger that this Chiefs team was bringing. So Kula making a big break on through the ruck, and players flooding by, but the Chiefs go close. And that was going to be a story of this game for the first 40 odd minutes. Really, was the Chiefs applying pressure, spinning the ball wide, but just not getting over that line, and always just not getting that final pass, right?
Oh, mate, you did right. They created some opportunities. Great break from the winger, and just getting cut down short. Some good scrambling defence from the Blues, but boy, there were other opportunities that they just missed. Yeah, you could argue they were a little bit hard done by with the referee's challenge, but in reality, it there could have been two little offences there. There could have been a knock on, and the fact that it looked like it was picked up from an offside position. But they take those opportunities, and I think we're looking at a completely different ball game, Paul.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, I was one of those that put a tweet out pretty soon after that, and was saying, the referee's had a howler. How can he be offside? There's no offside line. I was corrected on Twitter. I've deleted my tweet, and I've put out an apology tweet saying how I got it wrong. But yeah, the ref. Sure. Hey, look, technicalities. The TMO was asked to judge, was it a knock on, and they said no. So he shouldn't be allowed to look at the player in the offside position picking up the ball, which he was. But at the end of the day, the whole point of television replays and TMOs is that we get the right decision. And so I don't mind that he went a bit further than that. And glad that he. And so I'm happy with the TMO going beyond what he should be allowed to do and getting the right decision. That's the point. That's the whole purpose of him being there. And that's the purpose of these captain's challenges. So I don't have any problems with that. You, Stephen?
No, not at all. You did right. They got the right decision at the end of the day. Yeah, it does slow the game down, and there was a little bit of confusion, but end result, right decision at the end of the day. And I think for the Chiefs, they'll whilst let's give these guys a little bit of credit. Like I said in our chat room, they probably met in the car park on Tuesday. If you know what I mean, and collectively got told, hey, we'll get you guys training this week because you're the guys that are running out. So yeah, a lot to prove for them, and I thought they played with a lot of heart in that first half, and probably three penalties really didn't show the reward that they had put in that first half.
No, I mean, look, the Blues. The difference between those two teams in that first half, and actually, I've not checked out the possession and territory stats, but was that basically the Blues finished their chances, whereas the Chiefs didn't at the end of the day. Now, could you say that the Blues were giving away penalties in their own 22 to stop giving away a try? Yeah, possibly. But we know all teams will do that anyway. So, but yeah, it just came down to the Blues just more clinical in that first half, and hence they got their two tries, and so ended up leading. I mean, both those tries were from the forwards really bashing away. Come the second half, and again the Chiefs have a couple of breaks and knock-ons stop them from scoring, and they eventually have to take a penalty. Zane Sullivan on debut. Look, he missed that first kick from halfway, but that was he was so close. But overall, I think he had a good game, and so we've been crying out to see him play, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, listen. On debut, and we shouldn't forget there were 6 players, I think, from the Chiefs that made their debut this evening. 5 players that made their debut this evening.
There were 6. The Chiefs press release said 6, but we think that one of them had 7 minutes for the Highlanders last year. So even so,
to me, this is more of a debut. You're in the match day. You're in the match day 23, and I think he probably got a little bit more than 6 or 7 minutes. But just back to Zane Sullivan. Well, the good thing about it, it's probably opened up a little bit of a question for the coaches moving into the Trans-Tasman. You've been using Perifetta. But boy, I think what Zan Sullivan brings to the table is a good bit of attacking sense. But boy, that big left foot, that is very, very handy. I know one part there. He failed to find touch, but he's probably just a young guy who rates his boot in that particular sense. And listen, he can only get better. So hopefully he's put a few question marks there for the coaches.
Yeah, I did make a comment in our chat. Yeah, one of these clearance kicks didn't make touch, and the Chiefs came back, and I can't remember if they actually scored or they're very close to scoring. Either way, it's a learning curve for him. But look, yes, don't try and cut up. Don't try and to take more than you know you can actually get out, get it out on the full, because you're just leaving yourself open, or leaving the team open to a counter attack. Now, is he fully to blame? Now there were other missed tackles and stuff in there, but even so, but to just say a learning thing for him, and it was his debut.
Paul, I mean to say, sometimes if you, at the end of the day, if you know you've got a player who's got a big boot, I think this is where your chase game comes into play even more, and you just don't want one guy chasing. A really good kick is only as good as its its chase. And if you've made that tackle back in the half, perhaps got a good turnover, it actually makes me think of that first test the British Lions scored against the All Blacks from a very, very long kick, and the All Black chase game wasn't quite accurate enough, and then that beautiful try that was crafted through several sets of hands was scored down the other end of the field, and that's what happens if you don't quite get your chase right.
Yep, no, absolutely. We went into a bit of a crazy period then of turnovers where neither side could actually just hold on to the ball, and what that really needed again was just for the ball to be put into a forwards pair of hands, bash it up, set a ruck, and just set a couple of rucks and just take control of it. At the end of that, Sean Stevenson scored out wide, so the Chiefs came out on top, and suddenly with their first try of the game, it's 19-all after the Blues have scored 3 tries. So 3 tries to 1, and it's even. And you think, okay, so any time you hear a commentator say you don't win games by kicking threes, they're talking rubbish. It's a lesson there.
Well, I must admit, but that try was scored by Stevenson the 62nd minute, so 18 minutes to go, and it almost seemed at that particular point that the Chiefs had all the momentum, but that was around about the time that Leon McDonald went to his bench, brought on Ofa Tuangafasi, Josh Goodhue a little bit earlier, and I think you immediately saw, an impact at scrum time, and I think also bringing the likes of Sam Knocklon with his more, how can I say, cultured game with his high kicks that he put up tonight were very good, and all of a sudden the Blues actually started winning that little aerial battle in between the 22 and halfway, which gave them field position, but more importantly got them to pack down a couple of scrums, and from those scrums they were able to get scrum penalties. So you've got to give the coaches a little bit of a tick for bringing those guys on at the right time. Also,
AJ Bell. Dear me, that's a football ground, eh? AJ Lamb came on, won the kickoff, or reclaimed the kickoff of the restart, which led to this. Got a penalty in front at 19-all, and the commentators are going, "Oh, they should take a scrum." I'm like, no, you don't. You kick your 3, you get in the lead, right? Get yourself in the lead. When they got down there again and had a penalty in front, then you take the scrum, because another penalty doesn't really get you 6 points ahead. It's still only 1 score lead. A try at that point gets you 2 score lead, so it's worth going for the try. But the first one you kick, and then after that you go for the tries, which is what they did. And how they managed to sort of how they managed to put it through. So Akula off the back. I'm happy with the captain's referral there. I don't think Xavier Rowe was being obstructed by knock, or wasn't, or as I said in our thing, he was being obstructed, but legally.
So I must admit, through the naked eye, when I first saw it, I thought, there's a captain's challenge coming up there, and I just wondered if there might have been a bit of instruction, or else you could maybe there's a flanker holding in another player, but you know what? To me, Gatlin had the opportunity to make the tackle, and he actually missed the tackle. Even if the crazy thing about it, Rowe was actually he basically had his arms pretty much halfway around Knock, so it's not as if Knock was holding him; he was holding Knock.
Yeah, he was giving Knock a cuddle, and you're like,
Yeah.
and you're
Giving
like,
him a cuddle,
mate,
giving him a cuddle.
give him a cuddle so he couldn't pass the ball. Was what he was doing. He was stopping Knock from getting down to the ball, but that meant that he couldn't stop Soakula. He had a choice. Which one do you want to do? And he made the wrong choice in that situation. So no problem with that one at all. And then we had AJ Lamb walked over out wide, and then he slid over for another one as well. And it blew out at the end there. This wasn't a 20-point win, or it didn't. This was closer than that, but it just was one of those ones where a few scores late on make it look more comfortable than the game really was.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. What was that? Probably 3 tries in the last 6 minutes. Paul pretty much.
Yep.
Pretty much blew it out. Like I say, I think that score line at the end of the day definitely flattered the Blues. Probably maybe a 10-point victory would have been more the go. You just felt going into that last 10 minutes they had a bit of an arm length ahead of the Chiefs. But listen, one guy I've got to give a bit of a shout out to is Peter Soakula, the number 8. Man, I just thought in a losing team he was absolutely outstanding in this game, and just never stopped trying. And I also like the work of Ollie Norris in this game as well. I actually thought they were the Chiefs' 2 best forwards, and of course Zane Capelli made his presence felt, whether he was carrying or whether it was in the tackle. I don't think Oteri Black will be waking up tomorrow morning in the best shape. He'll probably be in the ice bath this evening.
I think to me, I think Jordan's right in this one. Yeah, Chiefs 9 tried to sell the obstruction, but was a really bad actor. Yeah, well, I'm not saying really bad actor, but yes, he did. Yeah, he definitely was contributing to it. As you say, Soakula, good game, 10 carries, 48 meters. The only players who have more meters was Bailyn Sullivan with 67 on the Chiefs side. Across on the Blues side, nobody got real massive numbers, but Satutu, 57 meters was top carrier. Tanaya Talia got 43 meters. Zane Sullivan, 45. As we've already said, he had a good game. Kurt Eklund, 48, but most of that was with the 23 meters he took to score his try.
I reckon, Paul, if they had to do a mileage checker on the most number of Ks run, I reckon Tom Robinson might be pretty close to that. I would imagine he'd probably be up right up there in the running stakes. It just seems like at times there were 3 or 4 redheads out on the paddock. He seemed to be popping up all over the place.
Yeah, he was. I mean, Eklund's name was said a lot. Satutu's name was said a lot. Choke got involved. Got a boot in his face. Not nice and bloody with his try. They all got named quite a lot. I mean, Lualala pretty quiet. Same with Carl Twinikafe, but their jobs are more around that set piece of lifting and scrummaging, so that's fine in there. Look, the Blues still the Blues look good when their forwards are carrying and taking it up. They still look disjointed in the backs, and there's still a lot of work to be done there. So on the whole, I don't think their backs had a great game. They did okay. And they did enough, but I don't think. I think in that first half, as I said, in our chat was like, look, the backs shouldn't expect to see the ball here. This should be a 10-man game pretty much from the Blues to win this game, and they would want it, and that's what I thought they were doing. For the Chiefs, though,
Paul, I was about to say, whilst both teams have finished on the same number of points, I'm actually quite pleased it's the Chiefs that are going through to play in the final, because I just think they've got a little bit more to their game. If you break down what the Blues have put up during Super Rugby Aotearoa, I think there's a couple of areas where they have not addressed. Their breakdown work at times leaves a lot to be desired, where they get a lot of ball turned over against them, and tonight was no exception. The number of times that Soakula, whilst he didn't always win the breakdown, was able to get over the ball before getting cleaned out. And it was very inaccurate at times, and it's an area as they go into the Trans-Tasman competition. I think they're going to have to tidy up big time. The other area that kind of disappointed me was just really in the attack. Everybody seems to be, there's nobody in motion. People are actually waiting for passes to arrive to them, and there's no manipulation. It's almost like shove it along to somebody else and see what they can do. Where you really need guys hitting gaps, getting on the outside of shoulders, creating a little bit of confusion, and to me, we're still not seeing that.
Yeah, and that's actually probably answers a Nocturnal Rights question from earlier, which was why can't the Blues get Caleb Clark into the game? Well, because he's out wide, and with everyone being static, it's never going to get to him in space, because by the time it gets to him, he's closed down. One of the things that the commentators said, that they've got to get the ball more into Caleb Clark's hands after he just ran 4 meters and bashed into somebody, because there was a full defensive line there. It's like, no, they need to get the ball to him in space and with opportunities. Yeah.
Well, if you think about the Sean Stevenson try, they were actually put into space. If you look at the break on the other side, I don't know. Now, that could have been Gideon Rampling who actually beat Caleb Clark on the South Stand side. Good question from Nocturnal Rights. Well, he couldn't get into the game even with his defence as well. Now, I think it was Gideon Rampling who actually got on the outside of Caleb Clark, and of course the try was scored on the other side. But if you think about that try, the speed and ball movements, players were in motion, and it was just enough for Sean Stevenson to get on the outside of AJ Lamb. And once again, it highlights my point about players being in motion, Paul.
Yep. No, you've got yeah, exactly. Coming from deep and hitting the ball, absolutely. What do we learn from this game? Well, not much about the Chiefs, because it's a totally brand new Chiefs side, apart from the fact that there are some good players in there that have put their hands up for more game time during the Trans-Tasman competition. And what have we learned about the Blues? Well, it's just confirmed, I think, a lot of what we already knew, that they've got a very good set of ball carrying forwards, and the backs are disjointed at the moment, and just not executing. Being too static.
And I am wondering, like I say, I go back to that creativity in and around Otere Black as well. We all know he's not a runner. He's pretty much your steady sort of meat and potato type first five who will do all his basics right. But I don't think he's ever going to be a first five that's gonna challenge the line per se. I'd even go as far as saying even Bryn Gatland at times, who we know is probably a similar sort of first line, even he challenged the line a little bit more. And the fact that he's challenging the line, he's holding the ball out in front of him. And once again, with Otere Black, we saw a couple of kicks that you really had to wonder what he was trying to achieve with these kicks at times. So I just think it's a real problem area for the Blues. They really haven't sorted out that 9 and 10 position in a very long time, Paul. And so it goes on. It's like it's like Days of Our Lives, isn't it? It's like a soap series that just goes on and on and on and on.
It's you're quite right. Look, ever since Carlos Spencer, how old is he now? So yes, that he's the last decent. Gareth Anscombe came on to be good, but they got rid of him before he had the chance to get there. He should have been the Blues number 10 for 10 years, I reckon, on a personal opinion, and went off to be the Welsh international. Nocturnal Rights suggesting Clark to be used off 10. They've got lots of players who can be used off 10. The problem is that you need the motion, you need players in motion, and you need the structures to do that. So you have multiple options. Otherwise, he's just going to be running into a brick wall every time. To be honest,
I was going to say, Paul, felt a bit sorry for Finlay Christie. I actually thought he got a real rough ride from his forwards in that first half, and never really got an opportunity to get into the game. But it was tidied up, probably in that fourth quarter. Beg your pardon. So probably Sam Nock had the better ride of the two halfbacks.
Yeah, and as you say, bringing on the experience of Goodhue and Ofa Tu'ungafasi, knowing they've only got 20 minutes to run, really means they can leave it all out there, which was great. Look, a number of turnovers, a number of knock-ons, hence why the Blues got 9 scrums in this game, because the Chiefs knocked it on just too many times, which is unsurprising when you've got a bunch of players who haven't played, or they've trained a lot together, but haven't played much together in that one. And I think that's pretty much wraps up what we've got to say, folks. So up next is the Brumbies versus Western Force in Super Rugby AU elimination final. That's in probably about 10 minutes now, I think, folks. So get ready for that one. And then next weekend, we will have the 2 finals, the Reds versus whoever wins that, and the Crusaders versus the Chiefs. It's not going to be the same Chiefs as we saw tonight, quite clearly. But that's it. Should be looking forward to a cracking weekend of finals next weekend as well, folks. Don't forget to join us at 8 p.m. on Sunday, where we'll review all of the Super Rugby games, including the Super Rugby. How am I supposed to say it? Fane? Anyway, the Women's Super Rugby game as well. So do join us for that tomorrow, Sunday at 8 p.m. For that. Thank you very much, Stephen, for joining me yet again.
No problems, Paul.
And catch you all later.